started to clue into some fishiness going on with pharmaceutical manipulation when you were a physician's assistant. And I can also, I can attest to that because I waited tables across from Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles at a very, very expensive restaurant called Luke. And I worked the lunch shifts, and every lunch shift was tables of pharmaceutical representatives and interns and doctors. And it was every conversation. How can we get your people to prescribe more of this? And it was like a $400 lunch, a $500, like literally every day. So I saw that firsthand myself. So after you had that experience, then you went to medical school, then you pursued this career. At what point did you start to notice the scientific method taking a back seat to these false authorities telling us what we're supposed to believe?
Well, in medical school, the scientific method doesn't apply at all.
Oh,
So the way that they teach medicine is very different from how they teach science.
mhm.
So, for example, when at MIT, if I took a basic biochemistry course, I had to demonstrate that I understood how the reactions worked,
Mhm.
right? Like, so that if I were a scientist, I could then go and design experiments to find out more information about how the biochemistry of the body works. It
Okay.
was so that's true understanding of the material.
Right.
In medical school, what they wanted us to do is memorize the reactions and the names of all the enzymes. And they have very long names, like glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase and pyruvate kinase and all these, and they wanted you to be able to just basically spit them back at you, right? Answer on a multiple choice test which one is which. So they're teaching it basically like you teach spelling.
Mhm.
And there's no level of understanding of what's behind. So the doctors, once they complete this education, they have hands-on skills, but they're essentially just told what treatments to apply to all the situations, and they have really no tools of understanding to go and evaluate what's the true cause of illness, how this new treatment's coming out. How do I evaluate if I need to change to this treatment or, do the old one? How do I pay attention to my own results and outcomes so that I confirm that what's in clinical trials is accurate? Because that has a whole, set of problems.
Were you asking these questions in medical school? Were you frustrated by the way they were educating you?
Well, quite frankly, there's not enough time to consider those types of things because there's such a volume of information you have to master, and then they frequently have examinations that you really just and also, it's like you're excited about your initiation into this profession, and you made a bunch of new friends, and you're all, have study groups, and what happens is that there are all these like cheat study guides
Mhm.
where they give you mnemonics to remember things and just give you, what they call pearls, like these are the things most likely to be on the test, or the most likely for your supervisor to pimp you on, because they have all these hazing rituals like pimping. Like, for example, when you go to do your surgery rotations in your third year, everyone wants to like get in there and actually do part of the surgery and, learn about it and see if it's for them. And, it's exciting and such. And what they do is that they bring in a group of students to a case, and like then the surgeon like asks these really difficult questions about anatomy or whatever. And, if you get it right, then they let you participate, as an underling. And if you don't get it right, they shame you.
Literally?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I
Wow.
mean, like, for example, this happened to me one time where and I don't, this wasn't even based on me answering a question wrong. This is just because I was a student. I asked if I could scrub into a case, and then I scrubbed in and I came to the operating table. And as soon as I got there, the surgeon was like, "You contaminated. Go rescrub." And I didn't touch a thing. Like, right, it was just hazing, make me go through the whole ritual again, come back in. And then, of course, all he had me do was the manual labor. Like, he had me hold his retractors that required for, an hour and a half straight. like requiring pulling as hard as you can.
Whoa.
So all that kind of stuff goes on.
Okay. And when did you start to wake up to the level of corruption and deception? Was it before all the crazy stuff happened in 2020? Were you already clued in at that
Absolutely.
point? Okay.
Absolutely. So, it was through my experience practicing medicine, and it happened gradually. I realized that psychiatric medications were not only not helpful, but harmful. And so I
Okay.
was working in a sort of setting with teenagers who had serious behavior problems and or like criminal type charges, juvenile delinquent situations. And I just basically was tapering all of them off their medicines,
Mhm.
started to work with nutrition. And, even earlier in my career, I realized this, and I was just tapering people off, minimizing drugs, trying to engage them in real change process. Then, I discovered Kelly Brogan's work, and then I started integrating nutrition and cleansing. And then I went full fledged into studying natural healing once I realized, that really across the board with allopathic medicine, they don't really have anything to offer with except for a few, very like some severe trauma and reconstructive surgery, and maybe one or two isolated situations here and there. But so I had to look outside, and I had been, that was after I had already challenged several other things in my life, and I realized I just couldn't ethically, do that kind of work, and I was phasing completely out. In my official work, all I was doing was removing harm. I did some expert witness work, and then once the pandemic happened, then it was sort of all over when I refused to wear a mask, and my, the place that I was contracting with didn't like my videos and public persona, even though they were very happy with me reducing the medications because it cost them a lot less money.
Mhm.
So so it was really just a kind of a gradual process, but I realized through my own experience, not just from evaluating the medical literature, that it simply didn't work.
Right.
It wasn't helping people, and it was causing a lot of harm. Like I realized I had many patients who had suicidal thoughts caused by antidepressants, and I
Right.
didn't never believe that at first, and then just time after time again, when I took them off, they went away.